addition to those cancellations, more than 6,000 flights were delayed this weekend, sometimes for hours and hours. How much worse do you expect this is going to become this week? What are travelers in for, assuming there's no end of the government shutdown?
Yeah, so first off, yesterday, Jake, 18 of 22 controllers in Atlanta didn't show up. We had 81 staffing triggers throughout the national airspace yesterday. That means controllers weren't coming to work. To answer your question, it's only going to get worse. I look to, the 2 weeks before Thanksgiving, you're going to see air travel be reduced to a trickle. We have a number of people who want to get home for the holidays. They want to see their family. They want to celebrate this great American holiday. Listen, many of them are not going to be able to get on an airplane, because there are not going to be that many flights that fly if this thing doesn't open back up. We have controllers who, again, are making decisions to feed their families as opposed to come to towers or TRACONs or centers and do their jobs. And I want them to come to work. The problem is they're confronted with real economic problems. The answer is vote to open up the government and then have your debates, have your conversation. I think that's the best way and the best approach to get America back operational.
Yeah, just to make clear for people who don't understand the reason the air traffic controllers are not coming into work. Some of them are just overstressed, but also some of them they're taking jobs with Uber Eats or Lyft or whatever because they have bills to pay. Some of them are being evicted. Some of them have childcare issues. They have to put gas in the car. So you talked about Thanksgiving. Do you have any sort of numerical idea of how many Americans will not be able to be with their families for the holiday because of this?
I think the number is going to be substantial. Again, you look at the trend line, Jake, and it's only gotten worse as we've gone through the shutdown. We're day 40 now. We saw the largest number of outage of controllers was on Halloween, the 31st. Those numbers were 61. Yesterday it was 81. And the controllers that I've talked to said a lot of them, we can miss one paycheck. They told me that virtually none of them can miss two paychecks. And so they're going to be confronted with the idea of, as you mentioned, going to get a side job, a second job to make ends meet, to put food on the table, put gas in the car, to pay their rent. And a lot of these controllers who are young, Jake, they don't make a lot of money. They're just getting into the business of being an air traffic controller. So they make less than $100,000 and they live in a really expensive place. They're the single income earner and they have a kid or two at home. It's very challenging. Another problem I have too is, as you know, I'm short air traffic controllers. I'm trying to get more air traffic controllers into the towers and be certified, but I'm about 1,000 to 2,000 controllers short. And so I paid experienced controllers to stay on the job and not retire. I used to have about 4 controllers retire a day before the shutdown. I'm now up to 15 to 20 a day are retiring. So it's going to be harder for me to come back after the shutdown and have more controllers controlling the airspace. So this is going to live on in air travel well beyond the time frame that this government opens back up.
Is it still safe for Americans to fly, the ones who are able to actually get in a plane that takes off?
Yeah, so we're working overtime to make sure that it is safe to travel. And so if we have staffing triggers in locations in the American airspace, what we'll do is we will slow traffic, which means you'll have delays. And then airlines might cancel flights. You saw that we're going to reduce traffic by 10%. We've reduced it by 4% right now. Next Friday it's going to be at 10% to reduce the pressure on controllers. The problem is that as I try to reduce the pressure by lowering flights, I have more controllers that keep not coming to work. And so the pressure goes back up again. And so I'm critically aware of that pressure, of rising risk, in trying to take that out of the system. And again, that's our job. We're working with the safety team at the FAA to make the best decisions that we can to keep travelers safe. Secondarily, I do care about the gridlock. I do care about people getting home to see their families or to go to a funeral or to, they might have a job that they have to go to. I care about that. But my primary concern is the safety of the traveler, and that's why you're seeing the mass gridlock in aviation.
Now, you say these cuts are necessary to alleviate pressure on the system. The Democratic leader of the Senate, Chuck Schumer, he basically suggested this was a political stunt. Take a listen.
How much more transparently political can you get? This isn't about safety. It's about politics masquerading as safety. The level that they will go to, putting the American people in discomfort and worse, is unprecedented.
Now, one thing that Democrats point to is the last government shutdown, which lasted 35 days. These steps were not necessary at the time. Can you guarantee that not one part of this decision is rooted in any way in a desire to pressure Democrats to vote to open the government?
So I don't know how many families after the DCA air crash that Chuck Schumer talked to, but I talked to the families because the FAA in the last administration, they didn't look at the data that we had near misses between helicopters and cross-wing airplanes. And had they looked at the data, they would have taken those helicopters out of the river. And I'm looking at data with the safety team. I didn't tell the safety team to bring this recommendation to me. They actually saw it and they brought it to us. So we have loss of separation in the airspace. Those numbers are going up. More ground incursions. I have more complaints coming into the FAA from pilots who are saying that air traffic controllers are not as responsive. They seem stressed, or they're not using the appropriate language because they're under pressure. So I look at that data that came from the safety team, and the trend line is going in the wrong direction. So I need to take action and make sure that we keep people safe. And again, Chuck Schumer hasn't seen it. This is not politics. The only one playing politics is Chuck Schumer, who's kept the government shut down. He's voted 14 times to make sure we don't pay air traffic controllers. He voted 14 times to not open the government up, and he's encouraging his Democrat colleagues to do the same. So the only political play here is Chuck Schumer. The safety team looked at data, made a recommendation to me, and it's a hard decision, but that's what we've done to keep people safe. By the way, Jake, I've done all I can to make sure I minimize disruption. That's what the president has done too, saying I don't want to see disruption for the American people. Pete Hegseth, Secretary of War, texted me yesterday and said, I might have some air traffic controllers. If you could use them, I'm going to offer them to you. Now, I don't know that I can, Jake, because they're not certified in the airspaces that we need them. But if I can, I'm going to use them. Everyone in this administration, at the direction of President Trump, has said minimize the pain on Americans. So this is not political. This is strictly safety. And I'm doing what I can in a mess that Democrats have put on my lap. And now I'm trying to keep the American people safe and keep airplanes flying.
Secretary of Transportation Sean Duffy, thank you so much for your time, sir. Really appreciate it.